Hey, almost said horsey people, gun people, rappelling people. I'm going to do a little bit on rappelling here. Had a couple questions on it, had a couple emails. I told a couple guys I'd be doing a video on it. Got a damn splinter in my hand, I can't get out. So let's talk about the different kind of seats that you can use. I guess we'll go over some of the gear. These ropes are kind of called a Ranger seat or a Swiss seat is the two that I was taught. And I used to teach rappelling in the military. Rappelled off lots of areas. Helicopters, buildings, cliffs. So I guess I kind of know what I'm talking about. I'm sure there's other people out there who are more current in it that's got new ways of doing things. So a lot of times you'll see this seat kind of hanging here, and this is what I'm kind of wearing on me right now, but you'll see these either hanging off somebody, on their equipment, in their bag. Some people will carry them in different ways. I'm going to take this D-ring off here. D-ring, common way to quick rappel. You kind of hook it down on you, run your rope through it, and I'll tie myself off and hang here a second just so you can know. This happens to be a KN. I think that stands for kilo Newton. So if you see KN on these, a lot of times they'll have to do conversion for like weight. A KN 24, this thing will probably hold close to 4,000 or 5,000 pounds. Even it'll hold me. So this is what's called a non-locking D-ring because it can open. Some people think these aren't as safe as a locking D-ring. If I'm on the side of a cliff and I'm going down a long rappel, or I'm going to have to tie off and do something halfway down a building or a cliff, then I'm going to use a locking D-ring because I don't want to have to worry about this accidentally coming clicking, etc. But if I'm just going down a hill and I just need to get down an area quick, jumping off a helicopter to where I want to get off quick, I can hook into this, slide right down. I don't necessarily need a locking D-ring, but locking D-rings take longer to put on, longer to take off. You have to leave them here, and then they become it can be an issue to get hooked or doing something. You can't take it off. And you don't really want to leave your equipment hanging on you because then you end up dinging it and banging it, and it's kind of messing around with you. So a little bit on equipment care. Don't lay your ropes on the dirt. I see a lot of people, big thing, military, when you take care of your gear. So this rope doesn't get laid on the ground, you don't walk on it, you don't stand on it. Every time you do that, you put particles of dirt and stuff into the rope. And then as you're tensing this rope and it's moving and you're using all this pressure, it's slowly cutting into the grooves, and that makes your equipment wear off or it can make it fail. So take care of your rope, take care of your D-rings. You don't want to throw these on the ground, drop them, they get little nicks. It takes a little bitty nick on this, and then I'm running a rope through there. This thing gets very hot, depending on the tension on how fast I'm going down or how much I'm stomping. This will get hot. If there's any little Mars or anything on this dent, it ends up cutting your rope. So after many rappels, you end up shredding your rope and you make your rope weaker. So a little bit on equipment care. Take care of your seats and take care of your D-rings. So I'm going to go ahead and take this seat off real quick and go over a couple seats for you on how to tie off. And the two seats that I use are either the Ranger seat or the Swiss seat. And again, this rope, you can see it carried a lot of different ways. Some guys will just carry it like this in a knot. They'll put a knot down here and then just throw it over their shoulder, depending on how you want to do it. If I'm going to use it quickly and I don't need it real quick, I can toss it over, carry it here to where I can get it off real quick, and then tie up my seat. Other people will tie it up. I usually like to have mine in a nice figure 8 because it reinforces my knots. Figure 8 knot looks like a figure 8 knot if it's done correctly. You'll be able to see that nice figure 8, and then I just clip it, and that's how I usually carry it. But however, let's go into a couple seats here. First we'll do the Ranger seat. When tying your seat, you want your knot to the opposite side of your brake hand. So if I'm rappelling, because I'm right-handed, this is my brake hand, I want my knot over here. I don't want my knot here to be messing up with my brake. Now, some people will put it more in the front to the left. You can play with your knot as you're tying it. But for the Ranger seat, if I go to the short side, my knot's going to be over here. If this side is shorter, when I start tying it, my knot will be on this side. If this side is shorter, my knot's going to be on this side. And you'll see when I tie it here, because I'm a right-handed brake, I want my knot on this side. So I want this side a little shorter. So after I get this a little shorter, I'm going to just pull this loop right here through my legs, and it's going to make a little, basically a cup area. So I take my short rope on this side, my longer rope on this side, and basically I just pull them through this little loop here. Now, a big mistake that people make is they get this loop here and they just tie this and it gets too big. I don't like this wide right here. I like it a little bit narrow and I want it tighter. So what you need to do, and again, I could tie this right now and I could rappel off it, but it's not going to be as comfortable, and you learn that after you rappel a few times. So I want this tighter, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this down and make it tighter. And then if I squat down, it even makes it tighter. So now I have a good, to where my rope's not on any of my parts except my legs. And then basically I'm just going to wrap this around here. And then I'm going to tie off over here. Now, I made this a little shorter than I wanted, so I'm going to go ahead and readjust that. I want this side to be a little bit longer so you can see my knot. So your knot's going to be a figure 8, or a square knot, I'm sorry. This is a real important knot. So you have to learn your knots, and I'll do another video just on rappelling knots. But basically a quick figure, or a square knot, is whatever rope goes over, it goes over again. So this one's going over this rope. So this rope needs to go over this rope. And then I have a square knot. And you can look at a square knot and see what it looks like. Now this is too loose. I want it tighter. You always want your knots tight. This seat should not be comfortable. It should be uncomfortable. You need to feel it binding. So now I have what's called a Ranger seat. And then if I wanted to rappel right now, and I'll go ahead and lock up on this, show you what it's like. When you put your D-ring on a rappelling seat, you want to basically just have the clip to the top, run it straight down your chest, straight down through the loops, so when you're finished, this is on top. So I'm going to take this like a hook, I'm going to run it straight down, I'm going to put it through both these ropes, 1, 2, I'm going to spin it around, and now this D-ring here is facing up. Because when I hook up, that's going to be important on how I roll the rope to get my locking in place. And so basically this is a Ranger seat. So I tied this off here, and when you're hooking up on a rappel rope, you want to stand so your brake hand's here. If my brake hand's here, I want to face the rope. We call this a standing in because it's not moving. And the free, shoot, I forgot the term of the, maybe this is the free end. I can't remember the term. I'll have to look that up. But basically you have your loose end and your tight end. You want to face your rope to where your brake hand, when I turn this way, my brake hand's going to be here because this is my brake. So basically face the rope this way. I don't want to face the rope this way with my brake over here and try to do this like this because it's going to make it where I can't tie it as well. So you get your standing and your running in. Oh, your running in. That's what I want to, the running in. So this is the running in over the cliff, over the building. If it's rolled up and you're in a helicopter, when you throw that out, that's going to be your running in. This is your standing in wherever it's clipped. So then you just basically, remember I told you I wanted that clip open from the top here. Basically, I just clip it through there and it's loose. And then this is where people make mistakes. Your break-in has to be closer and your you're standing in or you're running in's got to be close to your body. So when I brake right now, I've got to make sure when I make this loop that this knot right here is close to my body, and I'll show you in a close-up here in a minute. So I take my standing in and basically loop it around the D-ring, and I come down. And that's a single loop. If I'm going to be going fast down a rappel, I can do this. Depending on my weight, the size of the rope, my D-ring, the friction, whether I'm using a figure 8 or just a D-ring, this is going to get me going pretty quick. So, I do a double wrap because I want to be able to stop. And you do a double wrap the same way. You take your standing in and you wrap it around, again, under the D-ring and over. So when you're looking at this knot right here, you're standing in, these are all little things, visual cues that you want to be looking at, and I can't zoom in on it, so maybe you can go full screen. But my brake is at the bottom and my standing is at the top because I have to have a free flow. If this is reversed, I'm going to go down like a rock and I'm going to hit the ground and splatter. So when you're checking, and again, usually when you're rappelling military, you have a rappel master. I was a rappel master. They have your basic, intermediate, advanced, where you get your certification, and then you become the master after you've done it enough and gone through enough classes. But a rappel master can pretty much look and make sure you got a square knot here, your seat's tied correctly, and your D-ring's in correctly. And then once you're in there, I can test my rope right now. So I'm going to take my brake here and just test my seat and my rope, and it's holding. So if I go off a building right now, I don't have a glove on, so I'm slipping. But basically my knot and everything worked and I have my brake there. Now, when you're teaching rappelling, you're going to want to do these tests, but after you get proficient, you're just going to be jumping off things, so you're going to have to know how these things. Now, when you get to the bottom of rappel, what normally you do, if you're by yourself, is you walk away from the rope and you let this feed out softly to where you're free. And then you go on to your mission, whatever you need to do. So this is called a ranger seat. Let me see what my time is. So see if I'll do another one on a Swiss seat or just 12 minutes. Okay, I can probably do the, you know what, I'll just call this one the ranger seat, and I'll make a second one for the Swiss seat. And that way I don't end up with too long of a video and YouTube gives me crap. Alright, so we'll end that there on your, I guess I can go over a couple more things since I have a little bit of time here. This was called a locking D-ring. Again, it's just like a regular D-ring, except I can screw this up and now it's locked and it won't open. Now again, this is more secure to where it's not going to actually come off, but it takes a little bit more time to take it on and off. So if you're going to leave it in place, then I'm going to lock it. If I'm on a long rappel, again, where I'm doing a mission on the way down, if I'm going down, I'm clearing a window. If I'm going down upside down, I want to mirror a window, see what's inside. If I'm trying to look for somebody, hostage takers, whatever, then I'm going to use this because I'm going to be spinning and turning around and I'll be upside down and doing all this, and I don't want this D-ring coming off, so I'll definitely use a locking. If I know I'm just going straight down from one point to here, I want to drop down 2 stores and go through a window, and I'm just going to brake, I'm probably not going to use a locking. Now some people will always just rather prefer to use a locking and say, screw it, I'll just leave it on. And if you want to do that, you can do that. But the locking D-ring, this is a not locking D-ring. These are called figure 8s. And again, if I wanted to hook this in, if this was hooked up to my seat, I would take the D-ring on my seat and I would just hook this in here, and now it would repel off here. And this is called a locking figure 8, because I can lock off and do a tie, and then I can just hang, and this will hold me. And I mean, I'm sure there's some other new equipment out there. This is all, you know, my old military police stuff, so I don't know how times have changed over years. But those are different types of equipment. The way you tie off, I just did a quick little On this knot right here, I did a bowline knot. There's a lot of other ways to tie off. If this was my tie point, a good knot to tie off, I think, is to loop. And maybe I'll do another one just on tie-offs. I think I will, because this is a good topic. So we'll call this basic introduction to a Ranger seat. Then I'll do a Swiss seat. And then maybe I'll do some rappelling knots. I'll be able to get a little bit closer and do some tie-off knots. Alright? So we'll end that there for the Ranger seat. And again, people might ask, why do I want to know how to rappel, or why do I want to know how to tie a seat? Well, this seat's pretty damn handy for a lot of things, and I use it if I'm working on a roof or something. I'll tie me a seat, hook myself up with a safety line, so if I slip and fall, I know I'm going to be safe. Because I don't need to tie a rappelling with a brake. I can just tie a safety line on here, and I'm good to go. I mean, if I fall, it's going to catch me and stop me. So you can do it when you're working in high areas. If there was a whale or something, you need to get down to do something. If there was equipment that you need to get out of a deep hole. If there was a steep cliff and you couldn't get down, you could tie a rappel rope and you could rappel down, then use the rope to climb back up or have somebody pull you up. So, I mean, in a normal situation, day to day, there's probably easier ways to do it than use a rappel rope, but in a shit hit the fan scenario, you know, earthquake, you know, you don't have any help and there's a lot of damage and there's tall buildings, or you're in an open area with cliffs in it, you may need to get down to an area with ropes or with water, equipment, food, whatever you need to do. So I think rappelling, anything we can put in our little toolbox that we can draw from, is always an asset. You know, if I needed to rescue somebody, I was with somebody and a chopper came out and they dropped a line and they couldn't get a basket or something down, it would be nice to be able to know how to tie a knot or tie a seat on them to get them to where the helicopter could lift them out. So you can do it for rescue, you can do it for your self-rescue, you can do it for your self-safety, you can do it to get to places you can't get to. So is this something that everybody needs to know? Maybe not, but hey, it's YouTube, it's free. I'm passing on stuff that the military spent money training me on. Police departments spent money on it. So when they train you on this, of course they're training you so they can use you at a later time as some expendable to do their dirty deeds. However, it's still an asset that I think everybody should be able to have access to information, and learning and information should be free. So I'll put it on YouTube. If you like it, great. I'll do a little series on rappelling, and hopefully you can use it, or it'll do you some good. All right, we'll end that there. I don't know what happened to my horses. They left. They're like, dude, quit yapping. We're trying to sleep.